I'd like to call to order the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust for April 22nd. This is a special meeting. The first order of business will be to elect a chairman pro tem for the meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
I make the motion to approve Carrie Decker, to move that Carrie Decker serve as our chair for this special meeting.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please vote. And it is approved.
Thank you very much. With the meeting called to order, let's move into the second item, the approval of the minutes of the April 5th, 2011 Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust meeting. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? I have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second. We'll take a vote. The motion passes. The third item is the approval of a suburban school district application for funding. It's the application of funding for Putnam City School District gymnasium roof repairs for Putnam City West High School in the amount of $660,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Putnam City has requested $660,000 to investigate a repair at a gymnasium roof, Putnam City West High School. It was closed after some broken concrete from some support beams was discovered during a routine inspection. They don't have the extent of repairs, but then been able to put together this estimate. It meets the requirements of the Memorandum of Understanding, and we recommend approval.
I move approval.
Move approval. Any second? Second. We'll take a vote on the motion.
Sorry.
All in favor? Thank you. It passes. Next, we'll move into the financial reports. The first being the approval of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust Revenue and Obligation Report for February of 2011.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have revenues that are now in excess of $571 million on the sales tax. There's approximately $140 million available for ID9 sales tax projects and expenses, and there's about $13.7 million remaining in the Suburban District School Program. We do have the detailed reports attached, and it can answer any questions.
Any questions or discussion on the Revenue and Obligation Report? If not, do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? That motion also passes. The next item is to ratify the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Area Public Schools Trust payments for the same time period, I'm assuming?
This is from March 3rd through April 12th. You'll find about $6,148,952 in sales tax payments for that period and $1,264,324 for bond payments.
Any questions or discussions regarding the payment report? If not, do we have a motion for approval?
Move to
So move.
Second.
Second. Thank you. That motion also passes. Thank you very much. We'll move into our reports next. The first being the schematic report, the suggestion to approve the schematic design report for Rogers Middle School, Project ES0068.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first of several presentations that we have for you today. We do have Charles Boddicker with us today from Crafton Toll and Sparks to make that presentation. The one thing that I want to call to your attention, is identified in your memorandum, is that we are anticipating that this project is about $1.2 million over the PIP budget. This was anticipated. When I provided the contingency fund report back in February, this amount was included in that last report. And so this is a known overage in the report that Charles will make today. We'll present it as such. Thanks, Charles.
Good morning, everyone. I'll keep it quick. The project essentially...
Go ahead and stand up.
The project is essentially reparation of many of the things in the school that needed repairing. There's very little additional design. There's no additions to the building. We're doing some landscape work. Other than that, as a result of meeting with MAPS and the school, of course, a number of times, we determined that there were some district standards items that really needed to be followed up, and that is the money that Eric was talking about. We just wanted to make sure those things got in the budget for more or less. This is kind of a list of the major items, everything from fixing roof in areas where we needed to fix roof to ADA upgrades, those sorts of things. ADA accessibility is a big part of some of the things that we're trying to do, along with just some of the standard district standards. Excuse me. Handicap parking, some landscaping on the outside. Not much is being done, but we are trying to do what we can. This is a list of sort of the interior upgrades. Again, most of it's fairly straightforward. The stars identify those additional items that we wanted to get covered in the district standards. Data infrastructure, I believe smart boards may have been in there. So some of those types of things. Again, on the outside, one of the key things is we wanted to fix the roof in some places where we could, provide new exterior doors, crosswalks, some painting. Again, all fairly minor, kind of a laundry list. This identifies in red just some of the adjustments we'd like to make to the parking to make it a little bit more straightforward. On the left side, you'll see that we've added some bollards and some landscaping. Those are there for safety purposes. This is quite kind of an outside shot of just some of the small amount of work we'd like to do with Rogers just to help define the entrance a little bit more and those bollards that I was talking about and helping to make that a little more safe. So our original budget was at 169. The additional district standard items and the results of those meetings with the school amounted to 1.25. So that brings our new revised budget up to what it is. And we're still very much on schedule with what we'd like to do. It's not a big project. It's not overly complicated. We just like to get it done and go down to our next meetings with you all. So we hope, obviously, that you approve us.
Any questions or discussion regarding the Rogers project?
One of the additional items that I might add is that following your approval of the schematic report today, we would then process a formal amendment to the implementation plan to increase the budget. So that is something that you would expect to see at a future meeting.
If there's no discussion, do we have a motion to approve the project?
So moved.
Second.
Have a second? We will now vote. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item we move into are the preliminary reports. The first being to approve the preliminary report for Spencer Elementary School Project ES0065.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be the second presentation that you've seen on Spencer. This is the preliminary design. Please introduce Mr. Dick Cavan, Cavan Design Group, to make that presentation today.
Good morning. We're pleased to present this preliminary report on Spencer School. The scope of the project is basically the same as we presented to you in the schematic report, which involves renovating the far east and west buildings, removing the two central buildings, and creating a connector between the two buildings, and an addition to the north of the east building. The north addition will include a media center, and the connecting addition primarily is educational spaces. The site plan essentially is the same, except that during the community meeting, it was asked that we increase provisions for traffic around the site. Working with the staff, we decided to create a bus drop-off in the expanded parking lot on the east side and continue the vehicle drop-off along Northeast 50th. Excuse me. This is our building connector, the far left building. In the gray is the WPA building that will become a classroom space. This is the east building in the gray. That building is being renovated thoroughly. One of the changes that was asked by the staff was to reverse the position of the conference room and the clinic so that the secretarial staff could monitor the clinic when the nurse is not on the site. As you can see in the tan area, that's our new media center. Not getting much. Thank you. This gives you an overall view of the building. The WPA is on the far right. The far left is the media center with the glass, and the future gym up above that. This is a closer view showing the media center with our new sign for the building. And this is a direct view into the media center and the future gym. This is a night shot showing both the gym and the media center, and a closer view of our media center. This is the west portion of the building. The WPA building is there on the right with an entry there, and then that is our connector there in the middle. This is a night shot showing that same sort of space. We're reusing the existing aluminum letters that are on the WPA building at a lower location so that they show up at night. This is the new canopy for the special needs that will be on the east side of the building where the bus and van drop-off will be located. Our colors are basically a soft gray-green with some judicious accent colors. This is what we will have in our administrative area. This is the special needs color board. This is our media center and our corridor color scheme. This is our classroom area and restrooms. Our schedule at this point is that after approval today, we will plan to be finished with construction documents in May so that we might make a presentation at that time to staff and community. We plan to take bids in the summer, begin the renovation of Building B, which is the far west building. Once those classrooms are finished, we'll be able to occupy that and remove the two existing buildings and begin the connecting addition. The addition to the north, the media center, would be begun at the same time as the renovation of Building B. And once that addition is completed, we'll be able to renovate the east building with a projected substantial completion of September 2012. Our remodel costs for both buildings are just over $1.2 million. The new facilities will cost $3.1 million, for a total cost of just over $4.4. Our program implementation plan budget was $4,512,305, which places us almost $75,000 under that PIP budget. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions? Dick, I had a question. I noticed in the packet there was a letter from the Spencer Historical Society regarding some of the brick removal and retaining that. What's our plan for that process?
Well, they appeared at our schematic meeting and asked about the building and asked if they could move the building. So we asked for a letter of recommendation or a proposal from them. At our community presentation for the preliminary report, they had by that time discovered the building was not in adequate condition to move. But they do want the bricks because they have a very large community reunion yearly, and they feel that they can sell the bricks because they have done that on other projects in the past, and it'll be a fundraiser for them. So as a part of our construction documents, we'll have the contractor clean those bricks and stack them on the site so that the Historical Society can pick those up.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, do we have a motion to approve the preliminary report?
To approve.
Second.
All in favor? Everyone is in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion passes. The next item we have is the approval of the preliminary report for Capitol Hill Elementary School, Project ES 0066. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This also is the second presentation for Capitol Hill Elementary, and pleased to introduce Ryan Eshelman with GSD to make that presentation to you today.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief here and describe the work we're doing at Capitol Hill and get you up to date on where we stand in the process. This school is going from 1,000 students to 707. The new Chavez Elementary is changing the student demand on this building. We're doing renovations inside and out. Very few additions. We're actually removing a second gymnasium on the site, which is in some disrepair and infested with termites and is rarely used, so we're freeing up some area on the site. You can see that area in the upper left of that image, that we'll be removing that existing gymnasium. The other major issue we're solving is there's terrible traffic problems, particularly on 26th Street. The historic entrance to the school is on the east side on Robinson, but they're now unloading buses in the right-hand lane of Robinson, and the students are entering from cars from the north side of the building on 26th, and then the west side of the property is playground, and we're going to address a lot of those circulation and access issues and create one primary entrance on the west side of the building with a little bit of new architecture, and we're going to create that space by removing that gymnasium. Here's kind of a list of the items that we're addressing, typical to most of the projects. This is the new site plan that I described. We're going to create some parking on the site. Presently, the parking for the building is on the street, and then in an adjacent parking lot that the district has control of there on the left side of the image. That parking lot will remain in use, but we'll have some spaces for parents, visitors close to the front door, and we'll have a new drop-off lane for cars there on the west side of the building, and we'll be able to expand the loop on the north end of the building for buses. So no longer will we be queuing buses on Robinson. When I visited the first time, I drove around the building at least twice to try to figure out where to go in. We'll be solving that problem and hopefully making the traffic congestion and the danger of kids darting out between cars in the street go away. This is a diagram of the floor plan. You can see the new entrance on the left. There'll be a new administration suite inside the building immediately adjacent to the entrance, so they'll have visual monitoring of the entrance and be able to receive visitors very easily without people wandering through the building. We're also capturing an abandoned swimming pool down at the bottom of the drawing where it says media. We'll be filling that pool in and converting it into a new media center. That school was built in the 20s, and its media center for 80 years has been converted classrooms, so they'll have a nice new media center for the first time. We're also keeping and retaining a historic auditorium. Unfortunately, we don't have the money to do an elaborate renovation of that space, but we're improving it, and this elementary school will be, again, have the unique advantage of having an auditorium on site. The lower grades are in the lower floors. Second, third, and fourth grade classrooms are on the upper floors with some of the support spaces and special needs spaces distributed. And then the higher grades, the school will go up through sixth grade. Those classrooms will occur on the third floor. So this is kind of unique, and it's a 3-story elementary school. This is a rendering of the new west entrance. We're taking an existing wall and reskinning it with new brick and cast stone and creating a new entry portico, again, to try and clarify wayfinding the site and make a grand new entrance to the building. Again, it picks up on the architectural character of the existing building, which was important to everybody involved that we respect the existing building and acknowledge it with this new addition. There's an image, and we've also brought the board, if you would like to see the materials that have been selected. Worked with the principal, worked with the existing color palette on the building. There's interior brick, there's some seafoam tile, fairly neutral palette with splashes of color in bathrooms and some of the other areas. So this is the color palette that's been proposed and approved by the principal and proceeding with. Our schedule, we're in April. We have final plans to proceed with, and ideally we'll be doing bidding this summer and beginning work in the fall. Construction budget. We have incorporated a number of alternates in order to keep this project under the MAPS budget of $5.975. You can see those items listed there that we have done work on, but included as alternates in order to give ourselves some bidding flexibility. And we'll be obviously investigating potential other alternates as we proceed through construction documents if our estimates determine that we need to make any other adjustments to keep the project in the money. So that's an update on where we are, and I certainly welcome your questions.
So the current school has 2 gyms.
The current school has 2 gymnasiums, one of which will continue to be in use, and the other one will be removed to free up the site area as I described.
All right. Any other questions?
Middle school.
Yes, you've done a great job of incorporating the parking lot on the west side, and it looks much improved. Is there anything that the community or the staff requested that we weren't able to accommodate?
And Ted may jog my memory if there's an item I'm not mentioning. The biggest issues that were addressed were respect the historic character of the building. We've tried to do that, and help improve access, loading, and wayfinding. So those were major issues. Can you think of any other items?
Really, the only issue that came up was...
Ryan, if you'll go ahead and step up to the mic if you don't mind.
Really, the only issue that came up, both in the community meeting and in the staff, was our initial design for the pre-K and kindergarten classrooms did not incorporate toilet rooms in the classroom, since there is a large gang toilets in that wing. But it kept coming up in both the Task 1 and the Task 2 meetings. So it was one of the reasons we created some of the alternates, was to free up some money to incorporate toilets into the kindergarten and pre-K.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the preliminary report for Capitol Hill?
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. We'll take a vote on that. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda are some reports to approve the final plans and specifications for Arthur Elementary School, and authorize the secretary to advertise for bids and to be received by May 17th, 2011, project ES 0063.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the final presentation regarding Arthur Elementary, and we have Christian Ballard with Boynton Williams and Associates to update you on the project.
Yes, good morning. Arthur Elementary is designed for a student capacity of 604 students, pre-K through 6th grade. It includes a building renovation and a building addition. The building renovation is roughly 33,000 square feet. The building addition is a pretty significant addition and is roughly 25,000 square feet. That new addition will include new classrooms, a new administration. The administration will be relocated to the new addition. The new addition will also include a new health clinic and new restrooms. The renovation will include portions such as new window blinds, lighting upgrades, ceiling tile replacement, floor tile replacement throughout, parking improvements, exterior painting, electrical upgrades, brick cleaning, and new playground equipment. See right here is a breakdown of those square footages, and again it's roughly 25,000 square feet for the new addition. See right here in our proposed site plan, we're adding 21 parking spaces, drastically increasing parent drop-off areas. And again, our new addition is the gray area there on the south. This is the floor plan of the building itself. There on the bottom right in the green will be the new administrative area. It's no longer buried in the building. We'll be adding a nice entry to that, which will call out that entry, and you'll see that here in a minute. In addition to that, it's adding 12 classrooms and taking the old media center and putting it back into 2 classrooms, which it originally was, and designing a new pleasing media center, which again we'll have images of that here in a second. This is the new addition looking east from Independence, and again you can see that canopy that was discussed earlier. No longer is the entrance to this building going to be a mystery and buried back in the building. And again, some exterior elevations of the new addition portion. interior perspective of the new media center. This is the color palette that was determined by the color committee at Arthur Elementary. And again, the new addition, roughly the new addition is roughly $3.5 million. The renovation, roughly $2 million. The total construction estimate, roughly $5.5 million. And see, we're a little bit underneath our PIP budget of $58,000. We're right here at the bidding phase. We're scheduled to bid May 17th, and we project construction to begin July 2011, this July. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions on Arthur Elementary? Seeing none, we'd have a motion to approve the final specs. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please vote. All are in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the final plans and specifications for West Nichols Hills Elementary School, and authorize the Secretary to advertise for bids to be received by May 24th, 2011 on project ES0056.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our final presentation this morning. It is West Nichols Hills Elementary. We're pleased to have David Hornbeek with us to give you an update on the project.
Good morning and good Friday to you. We're here to, this is our third, as Eric said, our third presentation to you, and nothing has changed in our presentation and what we intend to do from our preliminary presentation to you, except that we've completed the construction documents, and after I go through this, with your permission, we'd like to advertise for bids. So the program has stayed the same, the scope of the work is the same. We're doing approximately 10,000 square feet of addition, including classrooms and kitchen expansion. The remodel of the existing 34,000 square foot building includes moving the administrative area into a location that will be able to cover the front entry, remodeling it, and providing a new media center, and the rest of that list. These are the repair and modernization points that we listed the last time. And the outside site improvements will include new handicap ramps, fencing, landscaping, and even a new drive lane. This is an aerial photograph showing the existing school and 12 outbuildings that will be removed. This is a schematic plan, and we're showing new drive-through and drop-off in front of what will be the main entry. There are two locations in which we're adding on. On the east side will be the 4 classroom addition with 2 new totally handicap accessible toilets, and then we're going to expand the kitchen, the cafeteria area and the kitchen itself in the green area, what is the lower left corner. This is a blow-up showing how we're going to relocate the principal's office and the administration area so that it can control the front entry. It's looking at the cafeteria and the kitchen expansion. That's another view from the same thing. This is on the other end, the classroom wing addition. We presented the materials color board at the last presentation, but here's a photograph of it to refresh your memory. And then an issue that was that we discussed early on that virtually went away. We didn't. I don't want to say it virtually went away. I think we resolved it to a point where that the neighborhood was happy, was the traffic flow and how it would come in and out of the school, along with the adjacent Christ the King Elementary School. These were the positives of what we presented. And then this is a budget where we are today. Now this has changed slightly since we presented it to you last, and The renovation is about $1.66 million. The proposed classroom addition is $1.35. We are currently sitting at a total of $3,022,000. That was the budgeted cost, excuse me. Our cost estimates are $1,644, $1,345, and at a total of $2,990,000. Approximately, at this point, we're $32,290 under budget. I would like to point out to you, due to recent bids that have been received by Maps for Kids, we've been asked by staff to even look at this one more time, and so our cost estimator, Bill White, is in the process of doing that one more time before we go to bids, and we'll keep you updated in terms of how that works and falls out. This estimate is about 4 or 5 weeks old, and we're going to do it one more time just to keep everybody as close as possible to what the current conditions are. Timeline, we're online, and if you guys give us the authority to go out for bids, we will bid that on April 27th.
May 24th?
May 24th, I'm sorry. Thank you, Eric. And hopefully we'll be on time and in the budget on that one. Any questions?
Why do you feel the residents are a little more comfortable with the traffic?
Well, before we didn't have a plan, and we hired the same civil engineer that Christ the King hired, so that we came up with a traffic plan that flows with also what their issues are, and so we have a kind of a comprehensive plan, and we're also showing that the traffic will not turn and go down that one residential street, and I think that's where the issues were. And once we showed that we were going to do everything in our power, we can make right turn only signs, and people can be there and enforce that if they turn left. But after that, you can't keep someone from turning left if they choose to. We're going to put right turn only signs out of both of the parking lots, and the new drive lane is designed so that it will exit on Greystone and won't even exit on that street any longer.
Okay. Outstanding.
I thought Greystone was the problem. I thought, as I recall, Christ the King is just across Greystone.
I'm going to go back to okay. Coventry was the problem. The people that live on Coventry Lane were the ones that, and essentially.
Well, I should say the traffic problem, not the complaint problem, which may not be one and the same.
Well, there was a section of road that fell between Coventry Lane and I think it's Coventry Place, and that was kind of a no man's land. No one knew, and what I really think happens is, because of the way the property line is, if you look at what the school owns, the property north, which would be everything on the left side, is in Nichols Hills. The property east, which is everything to the top, is in Nichols Hills. And then the intersection right there in the upper right corner, yes, that's Nichols Hills. Then come down, Eric, if you would, to about halfway between that block. Right about there is where the property line, the west boundary of Nichols Hills ended. So that house that was in there was in Nichols Hills. Everything else is in Oklahoma City. The church and the school, there was an existing church there that Christ the King bought. It was an old, it's not Presbyterian, I'm trying to remember what it was. Or in Oklahoma City. The section of land between that west boundary and Coventry Place, that road was in such dismal condition that something had to be done. And I think that both the city and Nichols Hills jointly repaired that. And I think the reason that they did it was because technically Oklahoma City owned the north half of it, and Nichols Hills owned the south half. If the property lines were coming like this, where was the property line in the center? Well, it was the center of the road, and no one had ever maintained that. Or I'm not going to say had ever maintained it, but hadn't maintained it in a long time. And that got repaired, and that helped a lot in terms of resolving some of the concerns and the traffic issues. So that repair has been done. We're avoiding the traffic going down Coventry Lane and the traffic on Greystone, we're trying to keep it where it's all flowing just two directions. And when we pull the new drive lane through there, parents won't have to park out on the curb. They'll be able to drive up to the school, and that should relieve a lot of the pressure on Greystone. You can see we're showing, I think, 21 or 22 parking spaces along that new drive lane that don't exist at this time.
Was there any discussion between the principals of the two schools about just staggering the start and end times of the school
Yes,
day?
there was, and in fact, that was one of the things that Christ the King acquiesced to, was that they were going to stagger their pickup when they open and when they close, and so those times are going to be staggered, which they weren't currently. In fact, they've already started it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion to accept the final specs for West Nichols Hills?
So move.
Second. Thank you very much. We'll vote on the matter.
Thank you very much, and
All in
again,
favor?
happy Good
Thank
Friday.
You too. Thank you, sir. Motion passes. Thank you. Next, we'll move into the contract section. The first being to approve amendment number 1 to contract for architectural services for Putnam Heights Elementary School, an increase of $12,500 on project ES0028.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This actually is a completed project. Putnam Heights Elementary is significantly completed. But one of the issues that we raised as a part of a change order, or a recent change order, was the redesign of a media center. The media center as designed met the standards for OC maps, but once the school was located in there, they found that it was just too small and didn't serve their purposes. And so we had an opportunity to make a change in the work. This amendment is actually for the architect to pay for those changed services. It's $12,500. We are recommending approval.
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve the amendment?
Move to approve the amendment.
Have an amendment. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All are in favor? It passes. Thank you very much. The second item, item B, is to approve the amendment number 1 to contract for architectural services for Rancho Village Elementary School, an increase of $29,700 on project ES0061.
Rancho Village is actually still in the design phase, and as we had the early community meetings, one of the things that was identified from the school was that they actually have 4 additional special needs classrooms that are not included in our typical model. They have the traditional rooms, but they have 4 that are severely handicapped areas, and so we've actually increased the square footage of this project by that difference. With that, we have received a request from the architect for an increased fee. The total fee increase is $29,700 to provide the designs for those, and we are recommending approval.
Any questions regarding Rancho Village? If not, do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We'll take a vote. All in favor? Yes. Thank you very much. The motion passes. Item C is to approve the amendment number 1 to contract for architectural services for Emerson Alternative School, an increase of $77,284 on project ES0079.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is also an amendment to the architectural contract for the small group. We've received several reports on the Emerson Alternative discussing the addition of the daycare facilities to that special high school. It obviously increased the square footage by more than 4,000 square feet, and that just was not included in the original negotiations. The total increase in fees being recommended is $77,284. The construction cost is also going to increase by a little more than $900,000, so we are recommending approval at this time.
Any questions on Emerson or discussion?
Do we know if this will allow sufficient daycare for the current population and anticipated population growth, or just the current population?
It takes into account the current plus a small increase. So it's not an increase or a projection for the next several years, but it does have some room for some growth. I believe it was in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 additional infants that could be accommodated in the new daycare once designed.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve this amendment?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. We'll vote on this. All are in favor. The motion passes for Emerson. Thank you. Item D is recommend to the Board of Education of Independent School District Number 89 approve assignment of contract for architectural services for Northwest Classen High School from Crafton Tull and Sparks and Associates to Crafton Tull and Associates, Inc., Project EB0018.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You see these periodically. This is simply a name change. There's no additional cost to the contract. They've reorganized, as you see in the memo, and we recommend approval.
Any questions or a motion for approval?
Move approval.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All are in favor. Thank you very much. Item E is to ratify the issuance of and approve addendas number 1 and 2, waive the bid rejection requirement regarding the architect engineer's estimate of the standard specifications for construction of public improvements, award contract base bid only to J.L. Walker Construction, Inc. for Cleveland Elementary School in the amount of $4,084,000 and approve contract and bonds on project ES0057.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We obviously have a significant item that's occurring at the end of March when we started bidding the next round of our schools. We have seen construction costs escalate beyond what the estimates have been provided by the architects. For a number of reasons that we're still working to determine, we're generally finding that the unit cost for electrical materials is going up. We are also seeing some impact on some of our new construction work with the increase in phases to accommodate the year-round school that has been recently approved as well. So these projects will be projects affected by that beginning this summer, where the summer months have reduced significantly by 3 to 2 months that are available for construction. So ultimately what happens is our construction time frames are extending out, which means general conditions of the contractor are also extending, and those come at a cost. We're still learning each individual bid, why those bids are coming over, but this is the first of 2 that we have for your consideration today. We have 2 items. The 5 bidders that submitted, the original implementation plan budget was $3 million. The estimate that the architect provided at the final plans was $3.5 million. We knew that the project was going to be over budget at that time due to some additional renovations that were required at the school. But the actual low bid came in at $4,084,000. So that's a $1 million increase over the implementation plan. But if you compare it to the original architect's estimate, it's a $520,000 increase. We do have contingency funds available to make the award. We are recommending that we do award this contract and move forward because we do have the available funds. We are also staying diligent with trying to understand this better, and so the projects that you've approved today and projects that we expect to be approved in the future, we're taking into account additional ad alternates to making sure that we control costs the best that we can. We are also asking on this item, the engineer was the low bidder, and we're asking that requirement that we self-impose be waived in this case to make the award. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
I have a question. Are you concerned with the increase in construction costs that the remaining amount of projects to be completed, the remaining amount in the contingency funds may not be sufficient, or do you feel pretty confident that we've got sufficient amount in the contingency funds to accommodate any other overages?
So the last report that we made in February was that we believed we had $13 million remaining in our contingency, and it includes some projected costs. And so there's several things with additional revenues from interest proceeds. We also have projects that as they finish, if they have balances in their budgets, that we can return those to contingency. These 2 projects, we have actually taken a new projection and an outlook, and we feel comfortable at this point that we're going to have adequate contingency to award the rest of the projects that are remaining in Maps for Kids. There's 16, not including the downtown elementary. Obviously, we're maintaining a contingency that's a little more than $10 million, and I think with our prudent effect to try to make sure that we understand that better and make changes to future bidding, we are comfortable at this time.
Okay.
Eric, what have we done to cost engineer that specific project? Has it been through the architect's hands again?
It has, and one of the opportunities that we have is once we award a construction contract, we then can actually visit with contractors. We're not allowed to visit with them up front. As a part of competitive bidding, we cannot negotiate construction. But once approved, we can then visit with the contractor on additional cost savings. And we are seeing that on a lot of our projects, that once we have that first meeting and once we can identify what was specifically in their bids, that they're proposing savings. We plan to take advantage of that as a part of this and other projects.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
Would it be in order to, I do think alternate 2 should be added, and I'm wondering if it'd be in order to do that. Seems like a pretty basic thing that needs to be done. It's not very expensive.
Let us approach the contractor to include that potentially as a change order item, and I think that's something we can address. I will definitely take that as a request from the trust that that be included as a part of the contract for construction. But we'll do that more or less as a change order, not as an award.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, do we have a motion to ratify this?
Move to ratify the change order.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote. All are in favor. Item is approved. Thank you. Item F is to ratify the issuance of and approve addendas number 1, 2, and 3, and award contract to W.L. McNatt and Company for Monroe Elementary School in the amount of $3,809,000 and approve contract and bonds on project ES0057.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one's almost identical to the previous item. It was a bid that was received. It's significantly over budget. As a general report, there were 7 bidders on this project. The PIP estimate was $2.9 million. The engineer's estimate when we actually received it as final plans here at the trust was $3.4 million, so we knew that it was going to be about $440,000 more. That was due to a sprinkler system and a computer lab that was required as a part of the educational standards but not originally included in the scope. The low bid was $3.8 million, and so that's $853,000 over the PIP, but $412,000 over the estimate. So we anticipated about half of that cost already, and so we have adequate contingency funds again to proceed for similar reasons. We plan to work with the contractor. We plan to evaluate this on future bids. We're recommending approval.
Any discussion? Do I have a motion on Monroe?
Move to approve.
Second.
And I have a second. We'll vote on this item. All are in favor of approval? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next, we move into the change order section. The first being to approve change order number 5 on Britton Elementary School, an increase of $72,765 on project ES0021.
Britton is about 95% complete with construction. As Chairman mentioned, there's 5 items. The 2 that are the most significant are item number 2, plumbing revisions. There were several existing plumbing lines that were required to be rerouted to better serve the existing classroom areas, so these were existing lines that were moved to new locations. And then you'll see item number 4, some additional asbestos abatement that comprises more than half of this change order for $45,808. Total changes, if this change order is approved, are right at 3%, and again, the project's nearly complete. We recommend approval.
Any discussion or questions on this change order? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion we approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We'll vote. Change order passes. The motion passes. Thank you. The next change order is approved change order number 5 for Edwards Elementary School, an increase of $21,799 on project ES0042.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We believe this will be one of the final change orders on Edwards, and it should be. It's complete. We did have the ribbon-cutting ceremony just a little over a week ago, but there are 12 items. These were items that were incurred during the course of construction. Most significant, item number 2, there were some trickle channel modifications for $4,848. We experienced 2 flood events. Obviously, some additional improvements were required, and this covers the additional costs for those improvements. There are some heating and cooling modifications in item number 5, some intercom modifications in item number 6. Total changes with this change order, just under 7%. There's also 29 extra days to cover some of this additional extra work. We recommend approval.
Any questions on Edwards? If not, I'll take a motion approving change order number 5.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We will vote. All in favor? All are in favor. Motion passes. The next change order is to approve the change order number 3 for Hillcrest Elementary School, an increase of $26,903 on project ES0043.
3 items for reconsideration today. Project's almost complete, 95%. 29 days are also included in this change, and the most significant item is the trickle channel revisions for this project at $15,115. Similarly, there was a trickle channel that was designed to do some improved drainage. It wasn't yet constructed when the change was required, and so the architect provided the necessary changes, but it came at an increased cost from construction standpoint. So this changes just the increased amount of concrete and some of the extra work for construction. We're working again to complete this project and recommend approval.
I'm glad you're the one saying trickle channel.
I think you should say it 10 times.
Any discussion on the change order for Hillcrest Elementary? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All are in favor. The change order for Hillcrest Elementary passes. The final change order on our agenda today is to approve change order number 3 for Southern Hills Elementary School, an increase of $39,380 on project ES0051.
We're just over 60% complete at Southern Hills, and so there's additional construction obviously underway. 18 items included on this change that are construction items to date. All of them are fairly insignificant when we compare those in cost, but we've got some valve relocations, $5,928, some mechanical pit infill. There was a mechanical pit that was identified during construction that wasn't on the plans that needed to be covered. Intercom replacement, parking lot replacement. Total change is $39,000, represents about a 1.1% change overall. The total contract's about 1.5%. 6 days for the additional work, and we recommend approval.
Any questions regarding the change order for Southern Hills? If not, I would receive a motion to approve the item.
Move to approve.
Have a motion, have a second, and have a second. All are in favor? Yes, thank you very much. The next section, section 10 on our agenda, is the concurrence items. Item A, concurrence with Independent School District number 89 and approving the contract for architectural services with JHBR Architects, Inc. for I-89 2007 School Bond Project SB0001, classrooms and gymnasiums at Coolidge, Van Buren, and Hayes Elementary Schools, a fee of $503,850, and assigning the Standard Engineering and Testing Company of Intercon Services, Inc. as testing laboratories. Eric?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. These will be the first items that you've actually seen as a part of the 2007 bond program. As you recall, we have an agreement with Oklahoma City Public Schools to facilitate additional work, and so this is beyond the original 70 schools for Maps for Kids. You'll notice that this item and the next item are similar. We had received authorization to negotiate contracts for both these items. These are those combination gymnasium and classroom projects that are going back to Maps for Kids projects to add those now. And so we have negotiated that contract successfully with JHBR. You can expect to see most of the items placed on the agenda like you see today. They're going to be in a concurrent section so that we're going to group all the 2007 work under one category. We're not going to mix the change orders or mix the contract items. And so you have the opportunity to consider these individually. You also have the opportunity at some point, if you choose, that you could approve the concurrence items wholly. But we're here to answer any questions that you have. But this item and the next item are those contracts for services. And then the third item we can address, but it is actually the authorization for the third project with Meyer Architects Plus. Can answer any questions that you have regarding any
do you have any questions regarding any of those or three of those, or should I, for the record, read the items B and C? Item B is the concurrence with Independent School District 89 and approving the contract for architectural service with Hornbeak Blatt and Associates PC for I-89 2007 School Project SB0002 for classrooms and gymnasiums for Wheeler, West Nichols Hills, Monroe, and Nichols Hills Elementary Schools in the amount of $509,000. And assign Professional Services Industries, Inc. and GMR and Associates, Inc. as testing laboratories. And item C is the concurrence with Independent School District number 89 in receiving consultant review committee report and authorizing negotiation of an architectural services contract with MA Plus Architectural Services Architecture for I-89 2007 School Bond Issue Project SB 0012 for the Spiegel and Taft Stadiums. Any questions regarding the concurrence items or discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, on item C of the concurrence items, I first, strongly approve the item and encourage the architect to move forward as quickly as possible. But as a former offensive guard and marching band member at U.S. Grant High School, who had many defeats on that field, I would like the record to reflect my own belief that the three teams that play there should be combined into one team. And therefore be much more competitive. And I do think that would make for the facilities themselves to be better used.
I'll be happy to forward that recommendation. I think some of the additional information that I can offer is the district is looking towards completing a district stadium plan where they'll have 3 regional stadiums. They're looking to have schools share these larger stadiums that include Douglas, of course, Spiegel, and Taft. They recently had their athletic director retire. They have an interim director that I think is working through the plan now. But I do know that they have some long-range goals to improve district athletics as a whole. But I'll be happy to forward that comment as well.
Any further discussion? If not, I would accept a motion on the concurrence items in total.
Move approval.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
We'll vote on those items. All are in favor. All the concurrence items pass. Item 11 is the update of the MAPS program, and I guess, Eric, you'll be taking care of that in Mr. Couch's absence.
I'll keep this brief. Obviously, the 2 items that you approved today that had construction, or at least bid costs, exceeding our construction estimates, we received bids on Northeast Academy, also on 4/12, April 12th. There were 6 bidders. And we saw a similar occurrence. That project came in about $800,000 over our estimates. One of the things that was different on Northeast, though, is this was originally a bond project. We are completing it as the last bond project, but as you know, we were focused on making sure that the bond proceeds did not go over their limit or the available funds. And so this was a project that was also converted to a sales tax project. We were actually partially funding it from the tax. That was how it was presented at the final plans. Well, one of the things that was overlooked as a part of the cost estimate, that once this trust becomes a party of that contract, the contract is taxable. It's not the school district's contract, which they're tax exempt. And so a large portion of that cost, about $300,000 of that, will be paid in sales taxes as a part of the project, and that was part of the overage. And so we're going to bring a full report back to you at a future meeting on that, but we are still seeing high bids, and I expect that's something that we'll see through the summer. We do have an aggressive bid schedule in May. Parmalee is going to bid on May 3rd, Arthur on May 17th, West Nichols Hills on May 24th, and Rancho Village on May 31st. Our goal is still to complete the elementary school projects bidding by the end of summer and the middle school projects by the end of the calendar year. We had a stand-8 weighty grand opening this morning at 10 o'clock, and so I know that we missed that, but they did have an opening event. And then if you have a groundbreaking that you'd like to attend, Hawthorne is next Friday, April 29th at 2:30. We encourage your attendance at those. I can answer any questions that you have.
Guess there are no questions regarding your update. I think the program consultant update is in your packet. If there's any questions regarding that. Seeing none. Do we have any comments from trustees? Any comments from staff or citizens? Seeing none, we are adjourned.